Hey, soul survivors. I'm going to talk about something that might be a trigger to some of you. So if you guys would like to watch something else, I can understand that. We are going to talk about, this is a viewer topic request on how you can be in this quote unquote loving relationship. And then all of a sudden, a narcissist or a sociopath, psychopath can actually unalive someone. How does this happen? And I recently had a friend that was murdered by her husband, and they were together for 12 years, they had a 6-month-old baby. But sometimes these people can be extremely dangerous. What goes on in the brain? We got a lot to talk about, so we'll go ahead and get into it. So the narcissist, they can possibly actually kill someone. And not all narcissists will do this. Not all narcissists are physically violent, but some of them truly are. So they do have that exaggerated sense of self-importance, also entitlement, and they can sometimes view others as just extensions of themselves sometimes. And as a result, they may feel threatened by any perceived rejection or criticism from the people that are close to them. It's a hypersensitivity. And this can include their life partners, people that they profess their love to. So it's a perceived threat to their ego, and narcissism is all about that ego, and it can trigger a lot of different defensive reactions, and sometimes it can have aggression, rage, violence. So people that struggle with narcissistic personality disorder, that have feelings of inadequacy, also it is a shame-based personality disorder, they often try to mask and they project an image of superiority, grandiosity. It's that overcompensation to balance out what's really going on with them. So when their image is challenged or undermined, they start to feel exposed. They become in this extremely vulnerable state, and this leads them to lash out in destructive or violent ways. So we do need to realize that when somebody does commit violence or even murder, it can be very complex, multifaceted, and it's not solely attributed to NPD. There's outside factors, but people that are narcissistic can increase the risk of violent behavior in some cases. Other factors such as a history of trauma, substance abuse, other mental health conditions can even play a role, because sometimes there is comorbidity that goes along with NPD. So they struggle with healthy relationships. But what goes on in their brain when they do go into a rage? A lot of times it's likely that their brain has these series of changes, and these changes are what are most likely related to a combination of their personality traits, their ability to emotionally regulate, where they have difficulties with that, and also environmental triggers. So a possible change that can occur within the brain of a narcissist is inside the amygdala, a part of the brain. It's increased activity starts going on. So the amygdala, that is used in a crucial role for processing emotions, especially fear and aggression. So when a narcissist starts to perceive a threat to their ego or even their self-image, that amygdala inside their brain can become overactive, and this leads to an intense emotional reaction. Another possible change can happen during the narcissistic rage is a decrease in the prefrontal cortex, and that's the area of the brain responsible for executive functions, which include things like decision making, planning, even impulse control. So decision making, planning, and impulse control are going to be skewed. And when they're in that rage, the prefrontal cortex can become less active, which leads to more of an impulsive or reckless type of behavior. So within this rage, the narcissists, they can experience a surge in stress hormones. These stress hormones include things like cortisol and adrenaline, and that can lead to physical symptoms such as rapid heartbeat, sweating, trembling, a whole bunch of things. The body and the brain are interrelated. So the triggers can vary but the increased activity in the amygdala, decreased activity in the prefrontal cortex can skew how they're going to act and how they're going to think. Now, during the blackout stage of a narcissist, what are they thinking? You know, what thought process are they having? So the blackout stage, that's a stage that is a period of time when the narcissist starts to lose control of their behavior and become physically and verbally aggressive. Inside this stage, the narcissist, they start to have temporary loss of memory, which is why it's referred to as a blackout. They will not remember what they did. So their thought processes can become distorted. Their behavior can be impulsive, often reckless, and they can act out without considering the consequences of their action or even the impact that they can have on others. It's almost like they're overtaken. And not all narcissistic rages lead to blackout stages. That deals with the severity, frequency of these episodes. But during that blackout stage, they just have that intensity within their anger, frustration, humiliation. And, you know, when that ego feels threatened, or that they feel that they've been unfairly criticized or rejected, once they're in that state, they perceive others as the enemy, and they start to view their aggressive behavior as a necessity for self-protection. And their ability to perceive reality accurately often becomes distorted, and they can become more prone to engage in things that either are harmful to themselves or others. And when they're not able to recall what they said or did during the stage, can often lead to feelings of confusion, possibly guilt or shame. And if the individual becomes physically aggressive or engages in self-harm, it can be during that blackout stage, narcissistic rage. And the differences within the brain of a narcissist versus a psychopath or sociopath. So these are not interchangeable terms. They represent different personality disorders, but there often can be some similarities inside the brain function. And people that have NPD, they have a pervasive pattern of that grandiosity, and their brain starts to show increased activities in the amygdala. And people with ASPD, which is antisocial personality disorder, also known as psychopathy and sociopathy. A psychopathy is what you're born with. Sociopathy is what is created over time. But they exhibit this pervasive pattern of disregard for and the violation of the rights of others. During a rage, a psychopath and sociopath's brains start to show reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is similar to what the narcissist goes through. And they're just more impulsive, aggressive, violent. And both sociopaths, psychopaths, and even narcissists start to rage at times and go into those blackout stages. And because of what's going on in their brain, they are not making wise choices. They're just trying to squash whatever is going on with them. So if you deal with somebody who cannot handle certain things, where they're unable to regulate their emotions, regulate their actions, that you know, with things going on like video games, you know, where it's like second nature to pretend to shoot something, or I was really disheartened about the Sweet 16, where the killings, there was a DJ at the party, and like a sound speaker fell. So it sounded like a gunshot. So a lot of people started like showing their guns, and then a lot of people started shooting the guns. That sometimes certain triggers are going to happen. So I'm not saying those people were narcissists, but they were on high alert. So the narcissist, when they're in high alert, they're not assessing the situation. They're assessing the trigger, I guess. And that's the exposure of their ego, or not feeling in control of something, or fear of losing someone, that when they're in that heightened state, just like the people at that party, those people, I don't believe, intended to kill each other, but with the increased in adrenaline, you get in that fight or flight, and you know things can happen because of what's going on in the brain. Sometimes people have increased strength. They can lift a car off of a body pinned underneath. That the person who is struggling so bad within themselves that their brain is affected, and they're acting on the stimulus instead of the reality. So being exposed is something that they don't like. Being controlled, if they're told not to do something, like cheat, they can manipulate and purposely try to get rid of their partner instead of breaking up with their partner, because they don't like to take accountability. It's easier for them sometimes to poison their person, or they think they can get away with things, so they have these intricate plans that they have no regard for the person, where it's like, look, it's not meant to be together, uh, us to be together, so maybe we should move on. It's just they like those simple, quick fixes, and inside their brain, they're just in a survival mode for themselves. And that's when they're not thinking about consequences. They're not thinking about you. And, when they get into that altered state of mind, that's when like true personalities come out. I saw this one post. It was about a glass that was filled, and it had something to do with, like, why are you so mad? Well, the person bumped into me and spilled my coffee. And they're like, well, if you would have had tea in your cup, you would have spilled tea. So we all have this cup, and we are filling our life cup with happiness or anger or whatever is going on. So during a jarring, we're going to spill out what we have. So we got to be cautious of what we're putting into our cup. So the narcissist has this cup full of anger, rage, everything that they've gone through in their life. And we hopefully have had a much better upbringing, and it's filled with love and understanding. And when we get jarred, that's what we're spilling out. We're trying to understand them. We're trying to love them. We're trying to compromise. That's when what is in our cup. So during an adrenaline rush, we're not going to shoot people. We're going to assess the situation. And the narcissist, they're going to pull from whatever their cup is. Is it anger? Is it aggression? And when during times of stress is when the true person comes out. So be aware of that. Know who your person is. And if you're thinking about leaving, that can be the most dangerous time. So be cautious on that. But if you see things that are dangerous, my friend that was killed by her husband, she was drunk. And her friends wanted to get her an Uber, and she's like, no, I got to get this truck home. If I don't bring this truck home, he's going to kill me. She had something inside her that knew he was so angry. And it's interesting, the words she said, our subconscious, she didn't say he's going to yell at me, or he's not going to cook dinner or babysit or watch the kid. She said certain words for a reason. And pay attention to the words you say. they might be telling you something because, you know, it's a warning sign sometimes on the words you say. So I hope that was helpful. And it's just the brain chemicals and the thought processes and what's in that cup. I hope that was helpful.